Hello guys, welcome back to the workshop. Today I'm going to be trying a little something new. As you can see, I'm starting to voice over my videos. So this is a quick episode to show you my mic setup. I recently bought the Blue Snowball ICE. It's not the best, but by goodness, it's much better than my microphone and camera's mic. So I had to burn off the little fixture off this lamp here because I couldn't figure out how to get it out. Make sure you wear a mask because burning plastic is rather toxic. I picked up a 3/4 inch end cap for a PVC pipe, and it looks like it's almost going to fit. So I took it over to my grinder, and you'll see that I grind it down. I make it so it does fit. And there we go. Fits nicely. Nice thumbs up. This is the stand that it came with. The stand is very cheap. It's full plastic. Not a whole lot to be said about it. It works, but it's by no means perfect. So that's why I'm making this one. On the bottom, I found one single Phillips head screw. Once you unscrew that, everything comes apart rather nicely. You have to forgive me, I'm still learning to record in a way that's conducive to voicing over. I'm still used to not talking at all and having the video explain everything. A rubber and a plastic washer pop out, and that's all it is. We're going to get rid of this bottom piece and slightly alter the upper. That way we can get it to fit nice and tight onto the top of the 3/4 inch PVC cap. I took it over to my Ryobi and sanded it down. After that, I took a drill bit, just kind of cleaned out the center of the cap and the middle of the upper piece of the old stand. And once it's like that, we can use the screw that came with the stand. And you just kind of screw it right into the center, and everything fits together rather nicely. Just like so. There we go. Alright, then I found this nice little handle for a cabinet, and I hollowed out the center with a Forstner bit. That's the exact same size as the outer diameter of this nut. We're moving on to the frame. I cut out two sections of 2-foot long pieces of furring strip. You can use better wood if you want to. This is just what I had laying around. These strips are not the nicest. They're very rough cut, very warped. But you can get better wood. This is just a cheap, nice, simple version of how to do it. And I also had this pieces of frame laying around. It's framework. And I cut them into nice 2-inch sections to fit across 3 pieces of these 3 pieces of furring strips. I apologize. I cut across 3 pieces of them. That was my length. I bought these nice clips at a dollar store, but they're just too short. So I had to revert back to my quick clamps. And these frame strips will hold together the outer 2 pieces of wood, and this will create a slide for the inner piece. Glued and stapled. Flip it over and do the other side. Same process. And that's that all finished. As you see, the middle piece slides out rather nicely, and we're left with a perfect frame. Then I grabbed a nice thick 2x10 I had laying around. This has been in someone's attic for years. So I'm just kind of sanding off the edge. It's very dusty and grimy to hold onto for whatever reason, so I'm basically sanding off that outer layer. But once I did that, everything was nice and clean, and I was able to use it for a base for the mic stand. I took it over to my sliding compound saw, and I'm going to put a 45-degree angle on the front face just to give it a little bit of detail. Now I'm marking out where I'm going to drill the holes for the future screws that are going to come up and hold it from the bottom. Grab my countersink bit, and on the bottom side I'm just countersinking where the heads of the screws will be. Now it's time for wood filler and shaping. This is what sets this project apart from a lot of the others, is I'm actually going to try and do some shaping with it. I'm going to try and even everything out and make it look as good as I can, because it will be out in my main living area, so I want it to look really nice. So I'm just kind of filling in the holes, the knots, and the cracks. And again, if you use quality lumber, unlike what I'm doing here, you're going to have a much easier time with this. But basically, you're just going to want to fill in the cracks and the seams in the wood of where you're putting the pieces together. It's not shown in this clip, but like in between that framing strip on the sides there versus the main structural furring strips is a nice place to put it, and I do eventually. You'll see here I'm putting a nice little fillet in where it goes into the legs. Now it's time for the shaping. Once the wood putty is dried, you shape it a little bit, make sure it has all the character that you want. Molding the wood, going at it with a file. I ended up using mostly the metal file. I don't know why, but the metal file works a lot better than this wood rasp. So that's the main one I use. It's a half round, has a flat side and a round side. And it just, removes the perfect amount of wood to accurately get what you're looking for. Continue rounding. I go through this with all 4 sections of frame. I'm going to refer to them as the spacers for now. So I shape over all the spacers, make them transition decently into the main furring strips. Then I go back over with sandpaper, take out all the file marks, and generally just smooth over the entire thing. Now I'm sanding the feet, just rounding over the edges and getting rid of a few unsightly marks. Now I'm going to take a drill bit that's just under the size of the tension knob that I'm going to be using. That, what is it called? The bolt. The drill size is going to accompany for the diameter of the bolt, but not for the threads. That way the threads can still bite into the wood. I'm just using a set of pliers, and I'm using that bolt as almost as a tap. So I'm tapping out the threads in the piece of wood. This way I'll be able to hand turn it later with that cabinet knob that I drilled out. Now we go on to painting. We're almost done. Gonna hit it with a coat of primer, white primer, just so all the colors come through perfectly. This is just a matte finish. I'm gonna be going over with a gloss color of each. And once all the parts are primered, you're gonna end up with something like this. Now I come back with the gloss. I'm using white and orange, so you can't really see the white all that well on these two pieces. But when I go with the orange, you'll see that it comes through much more vibrant than you would spraying just plain bare wood. And I'm going to do 2 coats. I think I only videotaped the first coat, but I do 2 coats of each color. Sanding in between. Here we go, priming the base. You may have seen a little bit of orange on there. If you want to compare that to this orange, you'll see that it's this orange is a lot brighter than that orange. And that's because I forgot to do the primer first. There we go. Now we're on to assembly. We're going to put a few screws into the bottom. I don't end up using all the holes because it's not needed. And I couldn't find a good anchor for the clamps. So I couldn't get it really flush up on there. So I just used the middle and the 2 top. And it works perfectly. Now the stand won't tip over when you put the mic on it or any kind of weight. It won't be much of a lever. I'm using a urethane 2-part epoxy for this section. I would recommend an acrylic or some kind of hard epoxy. This stuff, when it fully cures, it's still kind of rubbery, but it's all I had. And really it's all you need, but make sure you give it enough time to fully cure. That tip is a mixing tip if you're not used to working with 2-part epoxies. You just squeeze it all the way through and it mixes it within the tip, so when it comes out the end it's perfectly mixed and will cure in the given set time. This stuff is work hard within 20 minutes and it fully cures after 48 hours. I didn't really have that much time since I only have the weekend to work on this, but it was cured more than enough to finish up by the time I was ready. And you'll see I go with a base layer. I'll squish the male end into the female end, and then I'll go back over with a top coat just to kind of cover my bases. Now we let that cure, and we move on to the next section. Wipe off the excess around the edges. I just use a dry cloth. You could probably use a wet one, but I found a dry one worked just as well. Alright, so I've already pre-drilled these holes. I'm just going to use some wide head screws to clamp it in place. This way I don't have to use a washer. It just simplifies the whole ordeal. And here it is. I'm going to let the pictures speak for themselves here, but it's a very solid build, and I'm loving it. It's much better than the stand that it came with, and it took me just 2 days. Most of that time was pure dry time, waiting for things to dry. You'll see that it's fully adjustable. It goes up to about 4 feet tall, and with the boom arm extension, it's more than enough to allow me, a 6'1" tall dude, to stand up and record perfectly fine with a level mic. Slides back down, and this is the setup I'll be using when I stream. And as you can see, here's a close-up of the blue microphone. The blue snowball. And there we go. Thanks for watching my video. Make sure to hit that like button and subscribe.